Have you ever stopped to think whether what worked in the bedroom years ago still works the same way today? You might assume it does. But what if small changes could completely transform the experience for both you and your partner? Not long ago, I came across a fascinating research study exploring which positions actually help women reach climax more consistently. And honestly, some of the results were not what I expected. So I decided to take things a step further. One evening, I invited a group of close friends over, poured some wine, and we had one of those rare, open, completely honest conversations about intimacy. The kind of conversation that only happens when there's trust and zero judgment. I asked them a simple question. Do your real life experiences match what science is saying? And surprisingly, almost perfectly they did. So today, I'm going to walk you through what research reveals about positions that actually work, what real women confirmed from their own experiences, and later, I'll share the one position that surprised almost everyone. Because here's the twist. The position most people assume works best is actually one of the least effective when it comes to helping women reach climax. And yet, it remains one of my personal favorites. I'll explain exactly why. I'm Dr. Ava Sterling, and on this channel, we talk honestly about men's health, relationships, and the real science behind intimacy. Before start, please like and subscribe my channel, and also tell me in the comment section on which topic you want me to make next video. Let's start with the first position that consistently stood out, both in research and in real-life experiences. It's something very simple, missionary position, but with a small adjustment, a pillow placed underneath her hips. When I brought this up during that conversation, every single one of my friends immediately agreed. One of them even said this is her go-to position whenever she wants to finish. And the reason behind this is actually very interesting. When her hips are slightly elevated, it changes the angle completely. That small shift allows for better contact in areas that matter most for stimulation. But it's not just physical. There's also a powerful emotional component. Being face to face, maintaining eye contact, feeling close, all of this builds a deeper connection. And for many women, that emotional connection significantly amplifies physical sensation. It's not just about movement. It's about feeling seen, wanted, and desired. Now, from a scientific perspective, something else is happening here. When the movement changes from simple thrusting to a more controlled, forward grinding motion, it increases external stimulation at the same time as internal stimulation. And that combination is where things really change. Most women require that external stimulation to reach climax. So when both types of stimulation happen together, the likelihood increases dramatically. Several women I spoke to emphasize this exact point. It's not about going faster or deeper. It's about maintaining consistent contact and pressure in the right place. That pillow? It may seem small, but it completely changes the alignment, making everything more effective. Without it, the angle can be off, and that key contact is reduced or lost entirely. One of my friends explained it in the simplest way. She said, when the movement becomes more controlled and connected instead of rushed, that's when everything finally clicks. So if you take one thing from this, remember this. It's not speed that matters. It's consistency, connection, and the right angle. Now let's move to the second position that showed very strong results. This one is when the woman is on top, leaning slightly forward. The reaction from my friends when I mentioned this was almost instant. One of them laughed and said, this is the only position where she feels fully in control of what she needs. And that's exactly the key. In this position, she controls the angle, the depth, the rhythm, and most importantly, the pressure. That control allows her to adjust everything according to her own body, which is incredibly important because every woman's anatomy is slightly different. What works perfectly for one person might not work the same for someone else. When she leans forward, there's still that close, face-to-face interaction, which keeps the emotional connection strong. At the same time, the positioning naturally allows for better external contact during movement. And because she's controlling the motion, she can fine-tune it in a way that simply isn't possible otherwise. Now, some men feel less involved in this position, but here's something interesting that came up in that discussion. When the man actively participates by guiding her movements, placing his hands on her hips, pulling her closer, it completely changes the dynamic. Even though she's on top, there's still a sense of engagement and intention. That balance of control and connection creates a much more powerful experience. It's not passive, it becomes shared. And that shared energy is something many women find incredibly attractive. Now, as our conversation continued, something important came up. Even though these positions work consistently, they can start to feel repetitive over time. And this is where variety becomes essential. Not every moment needs to be focused on reaching the finish line. Sometimes it's about building excitement, creating unpredictability, and keeping that spark alive. Several of my friends mentioned how attractive it is when their partner confidently changes positions, creating a sense of spontaneity. That unpredictability adds excitement and keeps things from feeling routine. So think of it this way. Some positions are better for building intensity. Others are better for finishing. Understanding the difference allows you to use them intentionally. Start with energy and passion. Then transition into something that's more likely to lead to climax. Now, before we get to the most surprising part, we need to talk about something that affects everything we've discussed so far. Blood flow. No matter how good the technique is, if circulation isn't optimal, the body simply won't respond the same way. Both men and women rely on proper blood flow for arousal and sensitivity. When circulation is strong, sensation increases. When it's reduced, everything becomes more difficult. There's a key molecule involved in this process called nitric oxide. Its role is to help blood vessels relax and expand, allowing better flow throughout the body. When levels are lower, whether due to stress, lifestyle, or aging, it becomes harder to achieve full arousal. So while positions and technique matter, overall health, stress levels, and circulation play a huge role as well. Now, let's talk about the position that surprised almost everyone. According to the study, the position least likely to help women reach climax is doggy style. And yes, that shocked me too. When I mentioned it during that conversation, most of my friends immediately agreed. They said it feels intense, exciting, and passionate, but it rarely leads to climax on its own. So why is that? There are two main reasons. First, there's no face-to-face connection. That emotional element is reduced. Second, and more importantly, there's very little natural external stimulation happening in that position. And as we've already discussed, that stimulation is essential for most women. Without it, the likelihood of reaching climax decreases significantly. But here's the important part. Just because a position doesn't lead to climax doesn't mean it doesn't have value. This position offers something completely different. It brings intensity, raw energy, and a sense of passion that many people deeply enjoy. And that's exactly why it remains a favorite for many, including myself. It's not always about the outcome, sometimes it's about the experience. The key takeaway here is understanding what each position offers. Some are better for connection, some for control, some for intensity, and some are simply better for finishing. When you understand this, you can create a much more balanced and fulfilling experience. Instead of relying on one approach, you start using variety with purpose. You build excitement first, then shift toward positions that are more effective when the moment is right. One of my friends described it perfectly. She said her partner starts with something more intense, builds that energy, and then transitions into a position that helps her finish. That understanding makes all the difference. So here's the bottom line: positions that combine connection and consistent stimulation tend to produce the best results. Positions that lack those elements may still be exciting, but are less reliable for reaching climax. That doesn't mean avoiding them. It means using them strategically. Pay attention to how your partner responds. Notice what works. Adjust when needed. Because at the end of the day, it's not about guessing, it's about understanding. And when you understand what truly works, everything becomes more natural, more connected, and far more satisfying. Your intimacy deserves that level of awareness. And when you bring both knowledge and intention into the experience, you become not just a better partner, but a more confident one too. Thanks for watching.